Alright, ladies and gents, welcome to today's video. My name is Taylor Benterud, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the most important principles and lessons we've learned that will help you scale your agency from $0 to $50,000 per month. This is going to be part one, and then in the next video I'm going to go part two, which is how to scale from 50 to 100,000. Now, it's not necessarily how to scale, it's more so the principles and lessons that we've learned along the way. And right now, let's take a peek at this whiteboard. So you're going to see that we're going to talk about the lessons that we learned pretty much from scaling from $0 to about $18,000 a month, and then $18,000 up to about $35,000 a month, and then $35,000 up to $50,000. Now, I want to tell you that the scenario and the lessons and the principles that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video, they're going to definitely help you, but I want you to keep in mind this mental model, which is the territory is not the map, okay? So I am speaking out of our own case study, out of our own agency, Better AMS, the results that we've got, the process and the mental models and the principles that we learned from scaling our agency. So it's not going to be the exact same as everyone else's. It's the territory is not the map, which basically means that, look, the map is just a representation of the territory. You should never trust it with your life and think it's the exact representation or think it's exactly the same. So with that being said, let's dive in. This is going to be a very important video for how to scale your agency. So first of all, from $0 to about $18,000 per month, the phase, okay, got the handy dandy electronic pen with me here. The phase that you're going through, at least in my opinion, is pretty much self-maximization and marketing/sales. Okay, so these are the phases that you're going through as you progress. This is the first phase. Now, for me, this phase lasted up until about $18,000 a month. Why? Because you're maximizing your time. You're maximizing yourself, okay? So you want to get close to maxing your potential out. What does that mean? It means that you can't take on any more clients. You don't have any more time to service more clients. For myself, when I was scaling my agency, Better AMS, I hit that threshold at about $18,000 a month. Remember what I told you, the territory is not the map. For you, that threshold might be 10,000. For you, that threshold might be 7,000. For you, it might be 50,000. It might be 100,000. I've seen some agencies get up to $50,000 to $60,000 per month. Done for you, where it's like done for you services, not really done with you per se. So the territory is not the map, and this is the threshold that I went through, okay? Now, here's some of the things I wish someone would have told me when I was at this stage that it would have helped me progress along this timeline much faster. The rough culture just basically means, hey, you know, at this stage when you're in the inception and the infancy, I mean, the whole thing is basically infancy, but the inception of your agency, you want to have a rough idea of what your culture is going to be like. So basic culture isn't necessarily your vision, your mission, your core values, but that's kind of the foundation upon which your culture is built on, and it sets the vector and the trajectory for the rest of your team, which then forms culture as you scale. So get a rough idea on what the vision is and what the mission is for this company and what your core values are. It's not necessary, but I really think that you should do it at this stage because it gives you a deeper why. It gives you a deeper purpose for what you're doing and why you're waking up in the morning. It's not just about financial freedom and making a ton of money and buying a mansion or buying a Lamborghini, which, you know, for myself, when I was 18, 19 years old, starting the agency, those were all things that I very much wanted, and that was pretty much my motivation. There wasn't any vision, there wasn't any mission. It was very much just, I'm going to try to make a lot of money and live a very crazy lifestyle, crazy in the sense that I'm going to buy a lot of material and more or less live that kind of life. And that's totally the opposite has been the case, but rough idea on what your culture is going to be is very important. Hire a virtual assistant and an automation specialist as soon as you can. I did this well. I don't regret this. This was something I did amazingly well, and you want to do this as soon as you have the money to be able to afford a virtual assistant. You can afford them very quickly. I mean, for a part-time virtual assistant, you can get them for $200 a month, potentially even less. There's some people in the Philippines, man, they're working for $1 an hour at certain companies doing data entry. So that's the bare minimum from what I understand. But you can get someone full-time for $400 a month fairly easily, and it'll help you tremendously. You need a generalist, you're not a specialist. Depending on your situation, maybe you need a specialist, but generalists will help you a lot with admin and different things. So automation specialists will help you automate certain things, which will increase your throughput and your maximum capacity to be able to handle clients, and it's a good decision to make early on as well. This is primarily someone, again, speaking on the automation specialist, this is primarily someone who is going to be able to automate a lot of data. Again, this is pretty much someone who can do a lot of web scraping, bots, and sort of formulate, extract, transform, and load data. They're very good at the ETL process, which is a term used in the software world. But if you're not a very data-oriented company and you're very much a design type of company, well, then maybe you don't need an automation specialist. Okay, have one service and one damn business. Don't freaking launch 4 services. I almost sweared there. Got to keep this PG for the family. Don't launch 4 businesses, and don't try to offer 4 services. Look, the only time you should ever consider having multiple services or multiple businesses, if you're a very well-seasoned entrepreneur, you got multiple companies worth over 7 figures, and you scaled them relatively quickly, okay? If you're that, fine, disregard this rule. If you've never built an agency up to 7 figures, you've never built a company up to 7 figures, period, just focus on one service, focus on one business, okay? That's it. Build a lead gen system. I wish I would have done this earlier, and I would have invested more time into this on a daily basis, because, at this early stage, losing 1 to 2 clients can mean killing half your revenue, okay? So you got to make sure you have a solid lead gen system, and it takes time to build that, so the sooner you start, the better. I wish someone would have told me that. Focus on outbound. So personally, again, the territory is not the map. Keep this mental model in your head. I'm going to write that down here somewhere. I guess my face is probably in the bottom right corner. But the territory is not the map, and what you don't want to think is that just because I'm telling you to focus on outbound is that you should do that. For us, that was a great decision, okay? And I like outbound in the early days because it basically allows you to quickly contact a lot of people in your marketplace and see if it's a good fit. See if the problem that you're trying to solve, the service that you're trying to offer, is actually something that there's demand for in the marketplace. If you try to prove and verify demand via inbound, it's going to take much more time, because inbound marketing in general takes longer to build up. Everyone knows that if you start investing time and energy into SEO, it takes 6 to 12 plus months for your ROI to start hitting, okay? Now, on outbound, it can take 1 week. It can take 1 day. You can send 1 email and sign 1 client worth $5,000 a month the next day. I'm exaggerating here. But with inbound, that's typically not the case. Unless you have a lot of relationships with influencers in the niche, in the industry that you're in, and you can leverage their platforms, then in that case, that is extremely high leverage, and I recommend that you utilize that as quickly as possible. So within context here, outbound is better, but within a certain context, inbound is better if you have great relationships, and you can kind of bypass that 6 to 12 month period of building up a following, building up trust, building up authority, etc., etc., etc. So 30 minutes to 1 hour per day should be spent on inbound. 2 to 3 hours per day should be spent on outbound. The rest of your time will be spent on servicing clients and building in systems and improving existing systems that you have. Moving on, that is the lessons and principles from 0 to about $18,000 a month. Now let's talk about $18,000 to $35,000. Just sipping on some juice here, all right? The phase that you're now entering, territory is not the map. This is the phase that we entered. Once you've actually made a hire, your first AE, that's really the signal that you're moving into phase 2. Your first account executive / account manager. This is the bridge, and I had a conversation with an agency owner in Agency Enlightened, and we were talking about this, and this is a hard bridge to cross, okay? Not many people are able to cross this bridge and successfully hire 1 account manager, 1 account executive, and move from phase 1 to phase 2, okay? So the reason why is because, again, most people don't have any idea how to hire someone, or they're struggling with their marketing and their sales and balancing honestly, this is the most, I would say, the hardest part, because it's a balancing act. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those things that sports people stand on, but like, you as the agency owner at this stage are kind of on this balancing thing, and if you go too far to the right, it's pretty much death over here. I don't know how to draw death. And if you go too far to the other side, it's death as well. And so you got to keep the agency right in the middle, and you got to keep it there long enough to where you can be able to actually make it across this bridge. Now, I know that's just the biggest, most terrible general analogy that I could ever give, but an agency is truly the ultimate balancing act, especially at this stage. Because if you spend too much time in the business, your sales pipeline dries up. If you spend too much time on the business, your churn rate flares up and you start to lose clients. If you decide to, if you think short term and you decide to take on clients that are not ideal, you get lost in deliverables and putting out fires, and then the sales pipeline dries up, and then you lose those clients because they weren't a good fit, and the churn rate goes up, and it's just like, it can be the most insane, like terrible black hole / blizzard where you feel completely lost. And again, for me, it's easy to talk about this because I've been through that stage. Our agency right now is averaging between $94,000 to $100,000+ per month. And looking back at this stage, it was very much like I was in a blizzard. I couldn't really see more than like 1 foot in front of my face. And I was just trying to find the light and the other side. So with that being said, if you can keep it balanced, you're going to be able to cross this chasm. And the ultimate signal that you have crossed is probably you've hired your first account executive, your first account manager. You're now giving this person clients. So you're taking clients off your plate. And for the first time in the history of your agency, clients are being managed and communicated with someone else other than you and your company. Now, some of the pitfalls, we could talk about this for hours, but some of the pitfalls that you're going to run into and the false beliefs and the negative mindset that's going to hit you is you're going to believe that clients love you and they're not going to stay with you if you hand them off and you hot potato them to someone else that you just hired. It's a false belief. It's absolutely not true. And in speaking with the 100+ agency owners I've spoken with over the years, this seems to be one of the most common beliefs is that what if the clients leave because they don't like John or Sarah, who I just hired? Look, at the end of the day, it is a potentiality, but it's only a potentiality if you do a terrible job hiring this account executive and this account manager. And that gets us into one of the principles here, which is hire someone with experience. Now, I'm all for hiring people with no experience and that have a very open mind and they're very driven and you can train them up. But at this stage of the agency, I recommend you don't do that, and I recommend you just hire someone with at least 1 year of experience in your field. So they're still very open-minded. You might be more of an expert than them. That's okay at this stage. Ideally, you can find someone who's even more of an expert than you and they're smarter than you. In general, every hire you want to hire is someone who's way smarter than you. But at this stage, it's okay if you hire someone who's not as smart as you and they don't have as much experience as you, so long as they have at least the foundation and you don't have to teach them the foundation. We're an Amazon advertising agency. I mean, we're technically just an advertising agency, but we specialize in Amazon. And one of our first account managers was someone who specialized in Google ads. And I thought, you know what, this person's an expert with Google ads. They've got a couple $1 million in ad spend under their belt. They got 5+ years experience. They'll pick up Amazon advertising in a breeze. I was completely wrong, and we had to fire that person after 2 weeks because it just wasn't a good fit. And it was too time consuming to be able to train them from the ground up. So we hired someone with experience who had about 1.5 to 1 year's experience in Amazon advertising, and that ended up being a phenomenal hire. And thank God it was, we basically got lucky. This person called us and said, "Hey, are you guys hiring people? I saw a video of you on YouTube, and I'm looking for a job. I'm currently at this agency, but I want to leave." That person who we hired is Destiny with Sean. You may know who she is if you follow her on LinkedIn, and she is now a partner in the agency. Fast forward 2.5 or 3 years, and she has equity in the company because she's brought tremendous value to the agency, and I've talked about that in previous videos. So the first account executive, first account manager, you want to basically make sure you hire someone with experience. I recommend that you make sure you invest time and energy into building good training. You have a good digital brain. I've spoken about what a digital brain is in the past. I'm not going to touch on it in this video. If you want to know what it is, you can search on my channel, Digital Brain. It's essentially when you export all the knowledge in your mind about the systems and processes that you execute on a day-to-day basis in your agency, and you put it into something like Lucid Chart, and you kind of just explain it in a flowchart form that allows any individual on earth to be able to understand the blueprint of your agency for delivering client results on one screen. So it's not 40 Google Docs, it's not 40 different Venn diagrams, it's one page that within 3 dimensions is able to tell you kind of what the overall systems and processes of your agency looks like, okay? The processes in general, the whole thing is a system. So very important. And the last one here is experience. What that basically means is I wish I would have invested more time into providing a better experience for our clients. Had I done such a thing, I think we would have had a much better retention rate. Our MRR would be at least $20,000 to $30,000 higher than what it is right now because of the experience. And we would have significantly more cash in the bank because, year 2 of running my agency, had I invested into experience and retained 3 to 4 extra clients over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, if those clients are worth $3,000 to $4,000 a month, that adds up over the course of a few years to being over $250,000 in revenue, extra revenue that we have cash in the bank just because of better experience. So the compounding effect of improving your churn rate is phenomenal. And one of the best things you can do to improve your churn rate, most people think it's providing better results for the clients. Yes, that's important, but what's even more important is actually providing a better experience. It's hard for people to fathom this. However, I will bet any amount of money that experience is more important than results when it comes to running an agency. And so I could argue that on a live call with people if you want me to. I won't get into the reasons and the logic why. Maybe that'll be another video. Don't get me wrong. They're both very important, and you cannot just have one and not have the other. You cannot just deliver amazing results and have a terrible experience. You cannot just have a great experience and have terrible results. You need at least good results, but if you have good results and exponential and world-class experience, you will be doing much better than you would be if you had good experience and exponential results. I know it's kind of a weird paradox, but I can almost prove it based on the data that we've seen and based on conversations that I've had with clients over the years. However, the territory is not the map. So that is phase 2, ladies and gentlemen. Now you're going to be focusing a lot of time on systems and management and operations and making sure that you have your first hire is well done. And after about 6 to 12 months of making that first hire, maybe it's only 3 to 4 months, if you again are able to successfully stand on the balancing beam, and survive, if you can stand on this thing and not go too far this way and not go too far that way, you'll make it to phase 3. All right. Phase 3 is where you've got I would say you got about 2 AM/AEs. Again, the territory is not the map, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a simple model of our own experience within our advertising agency. However, I'd say right at this stage is the bridge that you're crossing, and this is where you'll be doing around $35,000 to $50,000 a month. I'm just gonna keep saying this. The territory is not the map. Okay, for someone it might be 20,000. For someone else it might be 150. For us, it was 35 to 50. Keep this mental model in the back of your mind. T is not the M. All right, territory is not the map. So at this stage, you're gonna be focusing very heavily on hiring and training and HR/operations. You want to get to be 90% OTB. What does that mean? You want to spend 90% of your time working on the business at this stage of your agency. You want to also think about neurodiversity. So you want to think about the people that you're hiring. You want to heavily vet them, and you want to get personality tests. I recommend the Clifton Strengths Finder. I recommend Kobe. I recommend that you get the Myers-Briggs. I recommend that you just do your freaking due diligence on these people and the personalities that they have. Don't hire the same personalities for every single hire, okay? Because if you just hire the same person, you're not going to have very good neurodiversity. Neurodiversity is about having a wide range of people that think very differently, but are all adequately skilled for the role. But they think very differently. So we got someone in the agency who's very analytical. They're very focused. We got another person who's very much a task juggler. They're not analytical. They're all about building relationships, and they think totally differently. However, they're both account managers. They're both account executives. They're both in the same position in the company. However, they have very different personalities, and they have very different strengths and affinities, and etc. And so it's good to have these differences because you want to be able to see how different puzzles fit into the model that you're running. And if you just have one puzzle piece, it's kind of like trying to build a great soup with one ingredient. You cannot make a great soup with one freaking ingredient. You need 5, 6, 7, 10 dozens potentially of different ingredients, and when you put all these things together, you have a world-class soup that's, you know, sellable at a 5-star plus three Michelin star restaurant. So neurodiversity allows you to make sure that that is possible. Hire people that think differently, and it'll allow you to basically be able to better make long-term decisions and better understand what your agency needs to be able to get to the next level. Invest into your team. This is more important. I wish someone would have told me to invest more into my team. Invest into technology and efficiency. You know, right now we're in the process of hiring a developer, and I wish we would have done it like 50,000 MRR ago. Okay, I wish we would have done it around 35 to 50,000. Granted, we didn't necessarily have much margin for such a thing, but we could have made it work, and we didn't, and I wish we would have. Okay, so 12 plus month runway, this should be on your mind. This was not on my mind when we were doing $30,000, $50,000 a month. And because of it, we don't have as much cash in the bank as we should. Because at that time I was thinking about just reinvesting all the profits, and we probably only had, at any given time for a long period of time, no more than 3 months of runway in the bank at any given time. There was one time where we had about one to 2 weeks of runway in the bank, because I was of the impression that we should be trying to reinvest everything into this company. And in doing so, I was just spending a ridiculous amount of cash on things such as you know, people that we didn't need to hire, courses on totally different business models, and a lot of things that were ridiculous. It's good to hold a 30 to at least minimum of greater than 25% profit margin month over month. I recommend at least 30% or greater is a healthy profit margin percentage. So if you do 100,000 revenue, you got 30,000 a month in profit, 360,000 at the end of the year. The reason why this is a good number is because if you have a 33.33% profit margin, you're collecting about, I think it's 1 month of runway every 2 months, assuming, yes, that's correct. So if you have 0.66% expenses or whatever it is, and 33.33% margins, every 2 months you're collecting about 1 month of expenses, right? So again, just to simplify this, 33,000 a month profit, 66,000 a month expenses. 2 months goes by, you've collected 66,000 in profit. This is 1 month of runway. So it's nice if you have 33% margins, because at the end of the year, you can collect 6 months of runway, assuming everything stays constant and your margins don't change, and your expenses, which is the same thing tied to your margins, doesn't change. Okay, beautiful mental model. So think about runway, ladies and gents. It's very important. The sooner you think about it, the better. And to be honest with you, runway should be here. You should be thinking about runway all the way back here. I'm just going to draw a little highway because it's kind of how I see runway. And the last one is think about leadership. So, you know, leadership is going to start to develop between $50,000 to $100,000 a month. The territory is not the map. This is me speaking out of a model that I've run through. However, that's where it developed for us, and it was actually a little bit sooner at 35,000. But I recommend not even thinking about leadership too deeply until you're at around, you know, 35 to 50,000. Ideally more than 50, because leadership is basically the team, the people on the company who is supposed to help guide the direction of the company and make higher level thinking decisions that are not even higher level, but longer term thinking decisions. And they heavily influence the culture of the company and the direction of the company, so to speak. Okay, so it's important to think about the people around you in your agency. If you're the founder and you don't have a co-founder, you got to kind of look at your team and think, yeah, John, you know, he's really great in this area. Sarah is great. You'll know who's the best in your agency. If you don't feel like there's anyone that's like as great as you, well, that's kind of a problem. But there should be someone on your team, ideally at this stage of 35 to 50,000 a month, probably around 50,000, because again, the territory is not the map, that you feel is like, wow, this person's way better than me at this. They're a huge asset to this company. And I think that long-term, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, they'd be a good fit on leadership, because they're complete opposite to me in this regard. You don't want to have someone on leadership who thinks exactly like you. You want extreme neurodiversity in leadership. So that's it, ladies and gents. 0 to 50, all the principles that you need. What more can we explain? Thank God we're recording, because man, this video, by the way, just funny for those of you who made it this far. I recorded this video yesterday. It was 45 minutes. And the recording got deleted because my computer shut down, and ScreenFlow didn't save it, which is the software we use for recording. So, hey, ladies and gents, look, if you found value in this, please hit the subscribe button. That's the only thing I ask from you. And also just comment and let me know if you enjoyed the style of this video. I mean, this is definitely a huge whiteboard breakdown session, and I liked it. I thought it was great. It's pretty throat intensive. I'm feeling it. But with that being said, thanks for watching, guys. Hit the sub button for me, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope this helps you scale your agency. Ciao.